It wasn't a verdict that shook the courtroom that day. It was a name too polished for scandal, too powerful for whispers. But when the prosecution whispered Kim Kardashian, silence fell like a curtain, and no one, not even Diddy, could pretend not to feel the ground shift. The air inside the courtroom was heavy, not just tense, pressurized. You could feel it in the gallery, where murmurs moved like wind through a locked building, slipping under doors, rattling nerves. For weeks, the Diddy trial had been nothing short of electric. Headline after headline, witness after witness, each more explosive than the last. But this was different. It wasn't about strategy anymore, or surprise evidence, or public drama. It was about a name. And when the prosecution handed a sealed document to the judge, no dramatic flourish, no raised voice, everyone held their breath. The judge read it quietly, almost too quietly, and then, without warning, he said it. Kim Kardashian. Time paused. Pen stopped. Heads turned. The courtroom sketch artist froze, pencil mid-stroke. And across the room at the defense table, Diddy flinched. Not dramatically, but enough. A twitch in his jaw. A blink too slow. A glance toward his attorney, who had suddenly gone pale under the fluorescent courtroom lights. Because it wasn't just that Kim Kardashian's name had entered the room. It was the implication behind it. According to sources tied to the investigation, the document referenced a nearly decade-old backstage encounter, an off-the-record moment between Kim and Diddy at the 2016 Iconic Sound Awards. No report. No complaint. Just whispers. A flash of discomfort that had lived in industry shadows for years, like a ghost nobody dared confront. Until now. The prosecution didn't accuse. They didn't dramatize. They simply placed the document into evidence. A short statement, an eyewitness account, a name. The reaction was immediate and irreversible. Diddy's lawyer launched a motion within the hour, demanding that Kim's name be stricken from the record. He called it prejudicial, irrelevant, a celebrity smear tactic. But the judge, calm and unmoved, said only this: if her name is in the record, and her presence can be reasonably verified, then the jury has the right to hear it. The room froze. The silence wasn't fear. It was recognition, because backstage whispers aren't supposed to reach courtrooms. But this trial wasn't following the rules anymore. The night sparkled with the illusion of perfection. Gowns glittered, cameras flashed, celebrities floated like constellations across the red carpet, and at the center of it all was Kim Kardashian, shimmering, unshakable. She wasn't planning to stay long. Her schedule was tight. Present an award, flash a few smiles, and leave before the crowd lost its shine. She had done this before, many times. Walk in, be perfect, disappear. But then a message came through, simple, direct. Mr. Commies would like to say hello backstage. She paused, reread it. Diddy wasn't a stranger. Their worlds had always overlapped. Music, media, mutual friends. The Hollywood Golden Circle. Nothing strange about a quick hello. Still, something felt off. She went anyway. Security led her past velvet ropes and tinted hallways, past publicists with earpieces and event staff avoiding eye contact. The deeper she walked, the quieter it got. Not peaceful. Controlled. His VIP lounge was curtained off, private, shadowed, selective. Inside, a DJ, a stylist. One personal guard. And Diddy, he greeted her with a smile. Not warm, not cold, just measured. Kim, I'm glad you came. They exchanged pleasantries. She complimented the show. He thanked her for being there. But something felt off script, like he was playing a role in a room only he had memorized. He leaned in. You ever feel like the world watches you so hard, you stop knowing what's real? Kim blinked, hesitated. Sometimes. He smiled, but not kindly, not cruelly, just knowingly. Some of us, when we're protected, he said, we build layers, silence, control. She didn't respond. She didn't know what she was being invited into. A conversation? A confession? A test? Before she could figure it out, a staffer burst in, breathless. "They're asking for Kim. She's needed on stage." She turned, relieved, and started to leave, but Diddy called out, "You're smart to go now." Not everyone knows when to leave, not a compliment, not a threat, just a message, one that stayed with her long after she left, through the blinding camera flashes, through the exit, into the night. She never told anyone, not Chris, not her stylist, not Kanye, because how do you explain something that didn't quite happen but still left a mark? She buried it, until now. By sunrise, the world had changed. News broke fast, too fast, no quotes, no confirmation, just headlines, flashing like sirens. Kim Kardashian, named in Diddy trial, 2016 Backstage. Encounter resurfaces. Kardashian tied to industry secrets? Kim hadn't said a word. Not publicly. Not even to her team. But her silence was already speaking volumes. Her phone buzzed relentlessly. Publicists, lawyers, friends. A cryptic text from Chris. Even a missed call from her old stylist, who had been there that night but never asked questions. And then the photo surfaced. It wasn't high-res, it wasn't flattering, it was real. Kim caught mid-turn in a dim hallway. Diddy standing behind her. Too close, her arms folded, her eyes down, no smile, no red carpet glow, no context, just tension. The image hit the internet like a detonation. Backstage truth began trending within the hour. Some people defended her. Some accused her. Most just stared. Because this wasn't the Kim they were used to. Not curated. Not controlled. Not safe. This was a woman who looked small in a space that wasn't built for her power, and that alone made people uncomfortable. Inside the courtroom, the prosecution didn't need to do anything. They didn't leak the photo. They didn't push the press. They just let the truth breathe. Because now jurors were showing up early. Reporters were huddling in tighter groups. Court sketch artists were drawing faster. And Diddy? He looked restless. For the first time, he wasn't adjusting his cuffs or leaning back with confidence. His fingers tapped against the table. His eyes darted to the jury, to his lawyers, to the exit. He had spent his career controlling rooms. Now, one image had flipped the script, because this wasn't about a headline anymore. It wasn't even about a legal motion. It was about a moment. One frozen frame that captured everything. Power, proximity, and a woman walking away. Midday, the courtroom, felt different, not louder, just heavier, like everyone had finally understood they weren't just witnessing a trial. They were watching a story, one that had been carefully hidden, now tearing itself into the open. Diddy's attorney stood with a confidence that felt too polished to be real. "Your Honor," he began, voice clipped, deliberate. "The defense formally requests that any reference to Miss Kimberly Kardashian be suppressed from these proceedings. She is not a plaintiff. She is not a witness. Her presence in this trial serves no purpose except to prejudice the jury through implication and celebrity." The words landed like punches, legal, practiced, intentional, but they couldn't undo what the jury had already seen, or what the world was still watching. Across the courtroom, the prosecution didn't flinch. No theatrics, just a thick file placed gently on the table. The lead prosecutor stood, her voice measured but cold. "This is not a publicity stunt," she said. "This is about pattern, about behavior, about how silence works when power decides who gets to speak." She let the sentence hang for a moment, then continued. "Miss Kardashian has submitted a signed, sealed statement under oath. We have third-party corroboration. We are not suggesting a criminal act. We are establishing credibility, context, and truth." The judge, still and unreadable, looked between both tables. He adjusted his glasses. The entire room was silent. "Does she intend to testify?" he asked. A pause. The prosecutor replied calmly, "Not at this time, but she has spoken, and that voice now belongs to the court." The defense bristled. Diddy leaned forward slightly, his eyes narrowing. But he didn't interrupt. Then the judge made his ruling. "I will allow the name and the statement to remain on the record," he said. "The jury may decide how much weight to give it. But this court will not erase a legally submitted memory, simply because it makes someone uncomfortable." A gasp, not from the press, not from the gallery, from Diddy's legal team. You could feel the shift in their posture. The balance had tipped. The control they once had, it was gone. And from that moment on, they were no longer leading the case. They were chasing it, because no matter how carefully Diddy had built his walls, her name had slipped through. And now the courtroom couldn't and wouldn't forget. The leak came quietly. No newsflash, no exclusive headline. Just a grainy screenshot passed around on anonymous forums, then tweeted by someone with 200 followers, and retweeted by someone with 2 million daughters. The caption read, "I knew I had to go." 7 words. Below it, a partial excerpt from a sealed court document. No logos, no letterhead, but unmistakable in tone. "I entered Mr. Combs's backstage suite alone. I was not informed who else would be present." After several minutes of conversation, I felt deeply uncomfortable and chose to leave. I have never spoken publicly about this moment, but I remember the feeling clearly. I knew I had to go. It wasn't a confession. It wasn't an accusation. It was a memory. And in the court of public opinion, memory is proof enough. By the time the courtroom opened the next morning, the phrase had gone global. "I knew I had to go" was trending in 47 countries. Inside the courthouse, the judge was furious. "I am aware," he said sharply, "that a sealed statement has been partially leaked. This court will not tolerate the violation of confidential testimony. However, the statement was legally submitted and will remain in the official record." Diddy's ED chair sat empty again. His attorney, grim, tight-lipped, gave no explanation. Only a curt nod and a legal pad full of half-finished thoughts. The prosecution didn't need to do much. They confirmed the statement's authenticity. They didn't read it aloud. They didn't need to. The leak had already done what they couldn't. It had changed the room, and then the photographer took the stand. He was younger than expected, nervous, clutching a manila folder like it held his spine. "Do you recall the night of the 2016 Iconic Sound Awards?" the prosecutor asked. He nodded. "I was working freelance backstage," he said. "I took a lot of shots, most of them were PR junk, but one I didn't delete." He opened the folder. Inside was the photo. The photo, Kim, mid-turn, Diddy behind, her eyes down, arms crossed. "I wasn't supposed to take it," he continued. "After I did, a man I didn't know came up to me. He said, 'You didn't see anything, you don't want to lose your job.' I didn't know what to do, so I did nothing." "Why speak now?" the prosecutor asked. The photographer looked at the jury. "Because I thought no one would believe me, until I saw her statement." The jury was locked in now, eyes focused, bodies leaned forward. There were no dramatic gasps, no tears, just stillness. Because stillness means belief. The defense didn't cross-examine, they didn't challenge the photo, they didn't deny the warning. They just asked to move on, and everyone noticed. Because silence in court doesn't mean safety. Sometimes it means surrender.